away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening anywhere else and you would like to join us for the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk, and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, fistfulofradio.com, and you can find me on Rumble now, Rumble, which is Coffee Talk 2, and that's the number 2. The number 2 as we get ready to get rolling here. For those of you who can see, there's Miss Kitty sitting in the chair behind me, and I have Granny Smith in here as well, who was laying on my boots. I took my shoes off, and then she took over, but she's starting to move now. If I put anything down, she'll lay on it because, cat, what are you going to do? She's getting off of them now, so I might be able to get my shoes back. Anyways, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable, and I will say hello to some of the people who have chosen to chime in with us thus far today. I see Helter has joined us, as well as Bob, number one Marvel fan, Dragon. Johnny is here. He says, listening. And Raccoon Eyes, and hello to everybody else who is not able to or chooses not to say something on the live portion, or on the chat board, that's fine. And again, if you are watching this on Rumble, I cannot see your chat messages. Restream will only let me see the ones from YouTube, and I'm going to follow up on a few things that I talked about yesterday, but I'm going to jump into a couple of things from breaking news first. I see Brian has joined us. First up here, something on your friend and mine, Joe Biden. And I have a lot to talk about as far as the thumbnail that I put up, the DEI hires of Louisiana that don't instill very much confidence, I wouldn't think, especially after what happened in New Orleans a few days ago. This is a New York Post article coming up here. And there is Biden. It says Biden releases 11 Yemeni detainees with suspected al-Qaeda ties from Guantanamo Bay, including 2 alleged former bin Laden bodyguards. So yeah, more being cut loose, and people happy about this. The Pentagon announced Monday that it has released 11 Yemeni detainees with suspected ties to al-Qaeda from the Guantanamo Bay military prison in Cuba. The detainees, none of whom have been charged with a crime, will be resettled in Oman as the Biden administration moves to wind down operations at the notorious detention facility. And that detention facility is out there for people that they need to hold on to, that they can't bring to trial because it's in another country. That's why they do that. Quote, although different processes, each of the Yemeni detainees underwent a thorough interagency review by career professionals who unanimously determined all detainees as are transfer eligible, consistent with the national security interests of the United States. Okay. The Pentagon noted that the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin notified Congress in 2023 of his intent to repatriate 11 Yemeni detainees to Oman. Quote, the United States appreciates the willingness of the government of Oman and other partners to support ongoing U.S. efforts focused on responsibility, reducing the detainee population, and ultimately closing the Guantanamo Bay facility. They said, goes on to say, Moth Hamza Ahmed al-Alwi, an alleged al-Qaeda fighter and bodyguard for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, was one of these 11 men that have been released. So people are not happy about that at all. Is this him? Yeah, this is the guy. Did they picture everybody? No. That's the guy that was the former bodyguard or alleged bodyguard. I see RL30 has joined us, as well as Jericho, traveling cross country, they say. Marble Fan says, lots to talk about today. So much crazy stuff going on every day. I mean, I could probably sit here for 4 hours a day, except that, of course, I'm not really getting compensated for any of it. I'm happy enough, honestly, if I can pick up enough donations in a week to buy another 30-pound bag of cat food. So, and I can't complain. Think about it. A 30-pound cat bag of cat food, right, will run you about $30. And I need at least one a week. That's 30 times 52. That's $1,560. $1,560 in dry cat food. And Dilo has joined us. Glad you could make it. As it stands, though, time only allots for me to commit about an hour a day to this, to just doing news briefs. So 11 people being moved out of Guantanamo. They're being dumped in Oman. Oman is allowing it, which means that we probably gave them money. Your tax dollars at work. Thanks, Joe. What are you going to do? And Dan in Denver is here. He says, nefarious fog. Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, Joe. Waste our money. We love it. Waste our tax dollars. Additionally, and I don't have the story pulled up, but I did see it, 2 of the people that he commuted sentences for refuse to accept it. They won't sign it to commute their death sentences. And reason being that they have always proclaimed their innocence, and they're still trying to appeal. And changing that status could kibosh their appeals process. I guess nobody thought of that. Johnny says, ask yourself the same question, but using a different name, and how would America respond? Bin Laden releases terrorists from Guantanamo prison. Now, how would you respond to that? Feel any different? Yeah. Incredible. But he's under fire for that, as well as other things. I mean, he's blocking oil. He's doing everything he can, drilling and fracking, to really sabotage the incoming administration, or whoever it is that pulls his strings is doing it, because I really seriously doubt that Biden is in charge of anything or makes his own decisions at all. Excuse me. And RL30 made a donation to the channel. Thank you, RL30. He says, cat food contribution, much appreciated. It goes a long way. I can't complain. I can't complain. And again, we're currently taking care of 18 of them. 18. That's Life is Here. He says, Chilly White Scotland. Chilly White Scotland. Lovely country there, though. Lovely countryside. And you've got all the stones that the strongmen want to lift. If you're in Scotland, you know what I'm talking about. But we've been seeing a lot of changes in a lot of things recently. This one I thought was really interesting. And this is a Wall Street Journal article. Meta, that is Facebook, ends fact checking on Facebook, Instagram in a free speech pitch. It's a little late for that, Zuckerberg, Lieutenant Commander Data. Although he's looking a little bit more like Donald Sutherland without the mustache there in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, this would be the part where he's been taken over and he points and starts screaming. Anyways, Mark Zuckerberg built up Facebook's content policing efforts in the wake of Trump's first presidential election. Now the Meta platform CEO is reversing course as a second Trump presidency. Well, he's executive branch of the White House, and the FBI was leaning on Facebook really heavy to force them to alter content that was talking about the C virus, taking the jab, If for those of you who are familiar with the channel, you know why I'm using those phrases, because of YouTube and their censorship. He's already said that he's been forced on a lot of those issues. Article goes on to say, Meta is ending fact-checking and removing restrictions on speech across Facebook and Instagram, Zuckerberg said in a video Tuesday, a move he describes as an attempt to restore free expression on the platforms. Wowzers. Wowzers. Let me catch up a couple of comments here really quickly. John says, hello, fellow cat shepherds. Yeah, you might can see Miss Kitty sitting in the chair behind me there. That's Life says the world's strongest man stays not far from me here in Moray. Who is the current one? World's strongest? I know it's not Eddie Hall anymore, right? Doesn't Eddie Hall look like Zangief from Street Fighter? Except he's a little shorter. My wife and I watch those competitions. That's why I know about some of these guys. I'm not sure who the current is, though. I don't remember. Eric Peters says Zuck is looking like a backup dancer in a 90s rap video. Oh, no. And Frankie is here. He says, good morning, good afternoon. Absolutely. This goes on to say Zuckerberg's plan is likely to reshape the experience of billions of people who use Meta's platforms. It steers sharply away from efforts started years ago in response to complaints from users. Think about this. How long have people been complaining? Almost 8 years now about these changes. Almost. And now you're listening to your consumer complaints. Okay. Advertisers and politicians, and that's the big one really. When your advertisers are complaining, you know you've got a problem. That abusive and deceptive content has run amok on Meta's suite of apps. The effort to rein in such speech sparked its own backlash from people, especially on the political right, who said it often strayed into censorship. Often, yeah, it absolutely strays into censorship. They are absolutely censoring people. And the Lamb's Light has joined us from Western North Carolina. Cold enough there? It was 28 this morning, 28 degrees here this morning in Georgia. Monkey has joined us. All People says Zuckerberg and his creepy wife are as creepy as Bill Gates. Yes. Yes, indeed. I'll just catch this up really quick. Jericho says, has any of you seen Ariana Grande? I think she's dying, to be honest, on the subject of people and how they look. She looks terrible. She was in Wicked, right? Both of them. They both look seriously anorexic right now. And the videos of them together are creepy, if that's the correct person. And Dan in Denver says, Meta all lies. Just put Dana White on their team. And that's Life says his name is Tom Stoltman, of course. Think he's won the past 2 now. Him and his brother are giants. Yes. Yes. Tom Stoltman. I should have known that. Yeah, I remember it was that Canadian guy who won the last Arnold Classic, correct? Was it the Arnold Classic? I'm getting them mixed up now. But now Zuckerberg is acting like he's trying to walk it back. He's just trying to be on the right side of history, which is all they're all doing. They don't really care about you or anybody or anything, but they want to pretend to be on the right side of history just in case. Quote, we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship, according to Zuckerberg. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. Oh, I see. A little Freudian slip in there. Recent elections feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So if Trump didn't win, basically it would be blow me, Facebook users, we're going to keep censoring you. That's what that tells me. Suck it, people from Meta. Too bad. But since Trump took office and Trump is more, or appears to be more, about free speech, now suddenly we want to blow in the wind. Absolutely. Raccoon says Grande looks like a robot. And Peter says his martial arts and strength training must have turned him far right. Oh yeah, that's what it is. I remember that too. Who remembers the photo of Zuckerberg in his backyard throwing spears while wearing ear and eye protection like he's on a shooting range? You remember that? You remember that? Because you know the impact from those spears, it's so freaking loud, and splinters could fly out of that hay. So he's gotta have earmuffs and eye shields on. Cyberjack Senior has joined us, and Lamb's Light says, or Lamb is the light. Excuse me. Did anyone see the clip of the signing it with Camel, the female senator's hero husband, wouldn't shake her hand or even look at her? Interesting. Now, where are we here? I had, this is alluding to the thumbnail that I used today because I talked about this somewhat yesterday. Okay. I talked about the mayor from New Orleans, the FBI consultant, and the chief of police in New Orleans. And I wanted to back up what I had said. So I pulled up the articles. Okay. Now, what is goodness, sorry about that. There's an ad that popped up on that article I just now opened, and that sucker was loud. Um, Now, the FBI consultant, there's not much to be said because there isn't much that you could find on her because she's not that public of a figure, but she did indeed lie. And we all saw this. The woman with the nose ring who sat there and said this is by no means a terrorist act, even though a truck rammed through a crowd with an ISIS flag hanging on the back of it. Yeah, okay, lady, sure thing. But I did also talk about the mayor and the chief of police, and I wanted to on that. Now, here's an article from Fox 8, and this is a Louisiana station. Latest federal subpoena hits at imminent indictments in Cantrell vape investigation, or VAPI, Cantrell and VAPI investigation, excuse me. And that's important to point out because this is not her first indictment or investigation. This is the most recent one that took place in July of 2024. Federal investigation into New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell and former NOPD officer Jeffrey Vapi has taken another step forward, leading the head of the Metropolitan Crime Commission to predict an impending indictment. Last month, Assistant U.S. Attorney Jordan Ginsburg, the lead prosecutor on the Cantrell case, sent Fox 8 a subpoena requesting all outside the office reports aired since February of 2024. It's the second subpoena Fox 8 has received related to this investigation. The subpoena covers two stories. One shows a photo received from the MCC of Cantrell and Vapi dining in the French Quarter restaurant balcony while Vapi was on duty. Another story showed a photo from 2022 sent by a source of Cantrell and Vapi at the Doris Metropolitan Restaurant Bar, with Vapi holding a wine glass, also on duty. Now, I guess these two are dating or whatever. That's the chief of police and that's the mayor of New Orleans. Okay. And what they're under investigation for is spending public money in public settings, going to restaurants while on duty. And so this guy shouldn't even be out here. That's what this investigation is. That's not as bad as some of the other stuff that I've seen. Investigation for receiving series of football tickets as part of a bribe. And let me catch up here really quick. I see Lisa Marshall has joined us, as well as Prime Mover. He wants me to start over. Nope, we're too deep in it. We're too deep in it. This is a little bit more serious, and I'll open the next article up here. And this is going to be a Fox News article, also about the mayor of New Orleans. Because there's multiple things going way back here. This is an older article. This is from 2023. New Orleans LaToya Cantrell hit with ethics charges over 15 first-class flight upgrades. So it says New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell charged with ethics violations regarding her use of first class seats on flights paid by the city. The Louisiana Board of Ethics on October 31st accused Cantrell of upgrading to first class on city-funded flight tickets, which violates the state law and city travel policies. According to New Orleans city policy, government employees are required to purchase the lowest airfare possible. Why does that keep happening? Everyday prices. Government employees are required to purchase the lowest airfare possible or reimburse the city for accommodations that might be otherwise considered deluxe. The charges aren't necessarily criminal, though. However, in total, the cost difference between Cantrell's flight upgrades and the rates that are permitted under city policy was nearly $30,000 that year. So she gave herself, with city funding, $28,856.99 worth of unauthorized upgrades. So there's that investigation. There's the investigation with the football tickets. There's the investigation with the city funds paying for her and her boyfriend, the police commissioner, or whoever the hell he is, some police chief, going on dates while on duty. When is any of this going to get followed up? Cantrell once flew first class on a July 2022 flight to Nice, France, that cost the city $17,654.57. However, the proper expense before her upgrade was $4,666.17. That's a hell of an upgrade. That's 4 times the amount of the initial ticket. 4 times the amount of the initial tickets. All expenses incurred doing business on behalf of the city of New Orleans will not be reimbursed to the city of New Orleans. And that's a quote from Cantrell. I do my job and I will continue to do it with distinction and integrity every step of the way. So basically she's sitting here saying, I'm not reimbursing shit. You're not getting your money back. Thanks a lot, Cantrell. This is what I'm talking about, how these people are so freaking corrupt. It's incredible. It's incredible how corrupt these people are and get away with it. They get away with it. I don't understand that. And Rodney made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Rodney. Very much appreciated. He says, keep towards keeping Prepper University on the air. I try because YouTube sure as hell doesn't want to keep it on the air. Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate that. But it gets better. We're still talking about the mayor. Here's another old article that I found. And this one is, this is a more recent one. This one is from October of 2024. This one's a little bit more recent than the other. Okay, let me get this one open. And this is a local one because I think this is a NOLA.com article. NOLA.com article. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell speaks out after the feds charge inspector for bribing her. Days after federal prosecutors charged New Orleans electoral inspector with gifting, oh, this is the one, gifting her football tickets as part of a sweeping fraud scheme, Mayor LaToya Cantrell fired back Tuesday in her first direct acknowledgement in months of widening federal probes into her office. Quote, how I came in seems to be how I'm going out, Cantrell told officials at the start of a briefing on the mayor's 2025 city budget proposal. Accusation after accusation after accusation, but also a track record of delivering results. Yeah. Kind of like the mayor of Dalton, right? Tiffany Henyard. Only this woman's managed to maintain a lower profile, it looks like. Cantrell responding to a 25-count federal grand jury indictment returned Friday against Randy Farrell, who, through his company IECI, is accused of over several years of submitting hundreds of fraudulent permit applications on behalf of unlicensed electricians who paid Farrell bribes. Farrell then gave Cantrell a slew of gifts, including football tickets, steak dinners, an iPhone, and other things in efforts to persuade her to look the other way, according to federal investigation. So she was grifting someone else's bribes. You gotta love it. She found out the dude was on the take and cut in on his action, and she's still there. She's still there. Incredible. Peter says, yet the people got exactly what they voted for. Long Island audits need to go investigate them. And Sven says Corky from Life Goes On would do a better job. And let me open this up here really quick from All People if you want to read that, talking about the people in Louisiana. I think that's hilarious. Is that the same? Is that the contract bribery charges article also? Let me see if this is the right one. Okay, that's the same one. Now, since we're on the subject, we may as well roll on over to the chief of police, because I brought her up yesterday too. Okay, what's wrong with with Ann Kirkpatrick, the chief of police in New Orleans? Well, let's take a look at what's wrong with her, because she's had a lot of problems too. I mentioned that she had been in a traffic accident. She's no longer allowed to drive. I neglected to mention that it wasn't another vehicle involved. She ran down people in her patrol car. Fox 8 local, again, this is New Orleans news. NOPD Chief Ann Kirkpatrick involved in crash, injuring 2 pedestrians. An accident involving NOPD Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick left 2 pedestrians injured Saturday evening. Now, this is August of 2024, okay? Initial reports from the scene indicated Kirkpatrick was driving a vehicle and struck 2 pedestrians. EMS transported a woman to a nearby hospital, and she is currently stable. The second pedestrian seems to be uninjured. Kirkpatrick underwent a breathalyzer and a urinalysis. Breathalyzer showed no signs of alcohol with a reading of 0. They don't have the results, or did not at that time have the results from the urinalysis. Investigation is currently on, and it's not here, but I had read a quote from Kirkpatrick that said, well, if I had seen them, I probably wouldn't have hit them. You think? The problem is you didn't see them, and it's not your first traffic accident. The woman can't see. She's one of those people that got too old to drive. She's one of those people that got too old to drive. Interestingly enough, it doesn't say anything here. While we're on the subject of Kirkpatrick, that Kirkpatrick is, one of her claims to fame is that she was an instructor with the FBI. What they don't tell you is that she's a DEI instructor, that her instruction is for like DEI related policies and procedures, that it's not like actual, FBI stuff, things that you would actually care about, or that, investigation or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's for emotional stuff and things that you would expect from a DEI classroom. And I'm going to pull up an EBX article, and this is an older one, as we dig into Kirkpatrick's past a little further here than just the traffic accident and why she's not allowed to drive anymore. This is an article from 2018. Okay. Oakland police chief's troubles resemble those of her past. Ann Kirkpatrick has been facing tough questions about her honesty and commitment to reform, just like she did in her last job as chief. Last year, when Ann Kirkpatrick took over as Oakland's new police chief, OPD was reeling from a scandal that had left deep distrust between the city's residents and the department. Mayor Libby Schaaf touted Kirkpatrick as the reform-minded leader Oakland's been looking for and said she would bring greater accountability, justice, and safety to our city. But since taking the job, Kirkpatrick has faced controversy in Oakland, including for her decision to promote command staff implicated in the cover-up of a massive sex abuse scandal involving the underage daughter of a police dispatcher. The chief has also come under fire for allowing Oakland police officers to assist in an August raid by ICE agents that resulted in the arrest of a man for allegedly being in the country illegally, an incident that raised questions as to whether OPD's involvement in the case violated Oakland's sanctuary city law. That one I don't care about. Review of Kirkpatrick's record as a police chief in other cities reveals similarities to the troubles she now faces in Oakland. Over the years, she has been no stranger to scandal. She has a history of trusting cops who lie and of standing behind those who have engaged in gross misconduct, and her commitment to police reform has been less than stellar. She had previously been the chief of Spokane Police Department in Washington after a controversial in-custody death that eventually led to the indictment and conviction of 2 officers. When she left more than 5 years later, the indictment still loomed over the department, and its relationship with the city was as damaged as ever. It says that Kirkpatrick has reviewed mixed review performances, scathing Department of Justice reports, so on and so on. Transparency issues, covering for misconduct and dishonesty from within the department. All People says LOL DEI. No kidding. Jericho says that's FBI level crap. What the hell? Yeah, basically her job is to cover stuff up, is what it looks like her entire career. And they keep going back further and further here, all the way back to like 2006 with various police departments that she's been in charge of. And it seems like all she's ever done is try to cover for people who were breaking the law. That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. And I was looking to see what here we go. This is the article I was looking for that explains what her act involves. If I can get open, because now I suddenly disappeared here. Am I ma'am? Let's go. Let's go Restream. You're holding things up. Restream should be running, at which point I'm going to try to switch back to StreamYard. And hopefully I'll have less problems with StreamYard at that point. This is a U.S. News article, and it's a current one. It's from 2020. It says New Orleans FBI office police department are chock full of DEI nonsense. It says New Orleans FBI field office aggressively promoted diversity initiatives on social media, especially in its recruitment efforts. The Bureau would hold a diversity agent recruitment DAR event to aid in their search for applicants with diverse backgrounds, skills, opinions, and perspectives. classes, side initiatives. Yeah, that's who you want as your chief of police. That's who you want. You'll have to have that kind of knowledge. I'm having trouble with that article. I'm going to close it. It's causing problems on Restream. Hopefully, I'm still here. But this is what they want. This is what they think they want. Now suddenly everybody wants to walk a lot of that back. They want to walk a lot of that back because of the shift. And at least that's the one thing that I saw Zuckerberg being honest about was, yeah, he saw the direction of the election. He saw the changing of the wind. And now he wants to do away with all of that fact checking. So they're all going to try to censor the hell out of you and do all this DEI nonsense. If there's an administration that isn't going to force them not to. Another name that I threw out there was Michael J. Fox, because Michael J. Fox got the Presidential Medal of Freedom the other day from Joe Biden. He was one of many celebrities who received one, including Magic Johnson. It's just throw medals out there. George Soros got one. I mean, why not? And I had mentioned that Fox is pro-abortion. And the reason that he is because his Fox Foundation likes to use the remnants from those surgeries for experimentation for drugs for Parkinson's disease, to alleviate the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. I had mentioned that yesterday, and I got a couple of responses from that. People are like, what the hell are you talking about? This is why he received the Medal of Freedom the other day. This is why it was given to him. Because of the Fox Foundation and the massive funding that they received in 2023 from the federal government with Michael J. Fox present. So this isn't something that he thought of once and then walked away from. He's still very much involved. And this is his foundation, the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. This is their website. Michael J. Fox Foundation statement on HHS review of federal funding for fetal tissue research. That's what this article is, from Michael J. Fox's own website, from his own foundation that he's still very involved with. And where do you think they get that fetal tissue from? Where do you think they get it from? MJFF strongly reaffirms its belief in the inherent value of scientific freedom and in patients' right to expect that every promising therapeutic approach will be thoroughly and responsibly investigated to accelerate the development of improved treatments and cures. Fetal tissue studies and related regenerative approaches have fundamentally contributed to the advancement of Parkinson's research since the 1990s, when he started this. It is impossible to know what future discoveries may be missed going forward. This article was written, by the way, before the funding grants that Biden signed off on in 2023. The foundation urges policymakers to remain committed to helping research freedom flourish for the benefit of the millions of Americans living with illness and injury. And I got to tell you, I mean, I don't have Parkinson's, but I have to wonder if ethically I would want to take the medication knowing this is where it's coming from. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like some of you might be familiar with the expression, the rabbit died. It's in the famous Aerosmith song, The Rabbit Done Died. And for those of you who aren't old enough to understand what that means. Once upon a time, they would kill a laboratory rabbit in order to conduct a pregnancy test. And I would have to sit there and even wonder, okay, if I had a girlfriend, wife, whatever, that was pregnant and it was like 1950, is it fair to kill this rabbit so that we can get the jump on this 2 or 3 weeks to find out if you're pregnant rather than just wait and see? We're talking about human fetuses here. Now, I had mentioned it yesterday, and a lot of people didn't remember that or weren't aware of that Michael J. Fox was all for this. Selfishly so, of course, because he has Parkinson's disease. Is it worth it to encourage that kind of research, which further financially benefits these clinics, so that you can get some medicine to help you not have the shakes so much or whatever? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Because again, I don't have it, but I would like to say that I would think that was ethically unsound. So if I was in need of something like that, I would think that I would be like, nah, you know what? I'd rather get it from somewhere else. I'd rather some other avenue was taken rather than encouraging this sort of research and behavior. And that ties in with the whole idea of never meeting your heroes. Never meet the celebrities that you love so much. They may surprise you. They may disappoint you. They may frighten you. And all people says, some say red light therapy treatment is just as effective, if not more so, for nerve damage, injuries, and disease as the fetal cell treatments. I mean, that's just creepy. That's just creepy anyways, to me. Why would you want to do that? But, I mean, a lot of people just don't care. And a lot of people, like Michael J. Fox here, have this attitude of, oh, well, you did it anyways, may as well make use of it. May as well make use of what's left over instead of throwing it in the furnace for medical waste. That's the attitude. I'd rather not see that procedure done at all, personally, unless in the most extreme of circumstances, which most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's what I refer to as retroactive birth control. You weren't responsible at the time, so now you just want to dispose of everything. And since I had brought that up yesterday, I wanted to clarify, because I had a couple of messages from people who were like, what are you talking about? Well, you can look it up. And again, that was his own website. That was Michael J. Fox's, the Michael J. Fox Foundation's website that I read that from. And they're all behind that. They're 100% behind that type of activity, unfortunately. NBC News article as we move on here. Judge rejects Trump's bid to delay Friday sentencing in his hush money case. And I'm still offended that they call this a hush money case. That still bothers me, because that's not what it is. It's a non-disclosure agreement. And they call it a hush money case because there is no lawsuit for a non-disclosure agreement unless you violate it, which it wasn't violated. Actually, it was violated, but it was violated by Stormy Daniels. She's the one that should have ended up in court. But here we go. New York judge on Monday denied President-elect Trump's request to delay sentencing hearing in his New York criminal case scheduled Friday, 10 days before inauguration. Trump's attorneys had argued in a filing to state Judge Juan Merchan, if I pronounce that correctly, made public earlier in the day that the court should vacate the sentencing hearing scheduled for January 10th and suspend all further deadlines in the case until Trump's immunity appeals are fully and finally resolved, which is plausible. That makes sense. However, Merchan rejected the argument in a ruling late Monday. Quote, this court has considered defendant's arguments in support of his motion and finds that they are for the most part a repetition of the arguments he has raised numerous times in the past. Merchan rejected Trump's bid to dismiss the case in a ruling last week and ordered his sentencing on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to proceed this week. Trump's filing said that he is appealing those decisions in the state appellate division later Monday and that he is entitled to an automatic stay. The appeal filed late Monday afternoon seeks a January 27th hearing date, a week after the inauguration. In a statement, Trump's spokesperson, Stephen Cheung, called the planned sentencing unlawful. Quote, the Supreme Court's historic decision on immunity, the state's Constitution of New York, and other established legal precedent mandate that this meritless hoax be immediately dismissed. And if you've been listening long enough or looking at this long enough, many of you are aware, or many people are still not aware, actually, that entire proceeding, that entire court case by Bragg, the district attorney, was unlawful. He violated the law in order to push the case through, which is why Trump's not sitting in jail, which is why they're trying to delay it. The judge didn't even want to really do the sentencing because he knows once he does, it's going to go to appeals and that it's probably going to be thrown out by a higher court. This is a case that never should have taken place. But there are people that will still sit there and say, oh, he's been charged with 34 felonies. No, he's been charged with a single felony that has 34 counts. And I've explained that before too. People don't get it unless they research this or unless they have experienced something similar. The counts only add up to one thing. So like, let's say, there's still door-to-door salesmen out there. Somebody comes and knocks on some old lady's door and says he's from the phone company and he's not. And he steals her money. If he came to her house 4 times, that's 4 counts. See what I'm saying? It's one charge, but they'll put 4 counts on there because he came to her house four times. He called her twice. Now it's 6. He sent her a letter. Now it's 7. That's how that adds up. He's not 34 felonies. That doesn't make any sense, but you can't tell people anything. But he's asked for a delay. That's not a very flattering photo. He's asked for a delay, which is understandable because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on right now. And the case is a load of crap anyways. It never should have taken place. But that's how Bragg got the job. That's how Bragg got the job, with the understanding that this is what he was going to do. I'll make it work one way or another, and he did. He twisted the law to get it through. And there are people who dislike Trump enough that they don't care that the law was manipulated in order to get him into court and accuse him of anything they could think of, anything that they could come up with. Well, here's a pet peeve of mine. Here's a pet peeve of mine. One more here. Brian says, the media lying, saying it's 34 felonies instead of counts is brainwashing it at work and goes to show how dumb people are. Yeah, people are not very smart. I say it all the time. People can get mad at me if they want to. It's the truth. And I fall in that category too because I've done a lot of stupid things. I try not to anymore, but I've made a lot of mistakes. People are not that smart. They're not half as smart as they think they are. And they make a lot of bad decisions, and they make a lot of foolish mistakes. And the worst part is they won't admit it. And if they don't understand something, they don't want to say it. Anyone here from New Jersey? You're going to love this. This is a Fox News article coming up here. New Jersey ends basic reading and writing skills test requirements for teachers, for new hires. Oh my goodness. Teachers in New Jersey will no longer be required to pass basic reading, writing, and mathematics tests in order to be eligible for public schools. Act 1669, which was signed into law by Governor Phil Murray in June, went into effect Wednesday at the start of the new year. The law aims to tackle teacher shortages in the state by removing what the New Jersey Education Association, which is New Jersey's teachers union, calls a barrier to getting certified. Oh, I see. So hiring teachers who can read, write, and do basic math is a barrier to getting hired. Yeah, I would hope that they couldn't get hired if they're supposed to teach your kids and can't read or write or do basic math. Oh my God. The new law states the State Board of Education shall not require a candidate seeking a certificate of eligibility with advanced standing, a provisional certificate, or a standard instructional certificate to complete a Commissioner of Education approved test of basic reading, writing, and mathematics skills, including but not limited to the Praxis Core Academic Skills for Educators test, in order to obtain a certificate of eligibility. A certificate of eligibility with advanced standing, a provisional certificate, or a standard instructional certificate, which is the bottom of the barrel. Oh my God. The Praxis Core Academic Skill for Educators test is issued by over 40 states and territories in the country and includes questions on basic English and mathematics, as well as basic questions on specific subjects. Quote, "We need more teachers. This is the best way to get them," according to Jim Beach, which is the state senator when the bill was passed. There you go. Hire people who are unqualified. Best way to put butts in the seat. Love it. Oh my God. Oh, it goes on to say in the article, over the past few years, multiple states have lowered standards for teacher certification to combat a nationwide shortage. The reason that you have a nationwide shortage, and I'm gonna remind you here, was that during the C virus, when they were mandating that professionals take the jab, a lot of these teachers lost their jobs. This is why there are teacher, EMT, firefighter, and police shortages, and nurses and doctors. These are the ones that said, no, you're not sticking nothing in my arm. You fired them all. You fired them illegally because you can't mandate something like that. You're not supposed to be able to anyways. So you created that shortage, and now you're a solution to fixing that. Is to lower the standard, not even lowering the standard. They're eliminating the standard. Eliminating the standard. Monkey, talking about the previous subject, he says counts are like examples of the charge, like let's say fraud, one charge and 30 counts. Simplification, there had to have been 30 cases of fraud being committed. And All People says, what's next? What next will they not require for teachers knowing how to speak, read, write, understand English? Yeah, no kidding. Prime Mover says movie Idiocracy was supposed to be a warning, not a guide. Correct. Although the people in Idiocracy were actually taking jabs at conservatives because they flouted Idiocracy quite a bit. That is the writers during Trump's last presidency. But yeah, it's still a good point. All People says U.S. public school teachers are paid huge salaries. They are. They get paid well enough. They'll always tell you they don't make enough money, but damn, they do. Jericho suggests that it is sickening. He said that's why the U.S. education system pales in comparison to other countries, and that there should be standards. There should be standards. And we were one of the first countries to implement them, going way back to, it was Theodore Roosevelt. I believe when he was in office, he mandated that all new hire police officers be able to read and write, because previously many of them couldn't. They would just hire any thug off the street to be a cop. And he was like, no. He was like, they've got to be professional. They've got to be professional. They should at least be able to read and write. I want a paper trail from these people. We're one of the first countries to really do that. Brian says another thing to add to the list of reasons why New Jersey is the #1 state people are moving out of. All People says teachers' unions are 100% controlled by the LGBT progressive liberal leftists. They're controlled by just corrupt individuals that only care about collecting union fees and living off the fat of the land. Nothing to do but sleep and eat and sleep, and live off the fat of the land. Join the army. And of course, that is the Three Stooges. They did that one in a couple of sketches because they rehashed sketches on occasion. But teachers in New Jersey will no longer be required to pass basic reading and mathematics. Well, I mean, they don't read. No one in public school, or nobody in college, I should say, public school too. But they're not reading anymore. We read that article a few weeks back. Professors, longtime professors and educators in colleges and universities complaining about the fact that students that are coming in, they can't read. Not proficiently. I mean, they could read a little, but not proficiently, and sure as hell can't get all the way through a book. And they went all the way through high school without reading a book, and now they're going through college without reading a book. And we read the article about Harvard, which is like the oldest institution in the country, oldest university, and students won't read. They're like, I haven't reading a book cover to cover. You got me all bent sideways. They won't do it. They can't comprehend it. So we're going to take these people who can barely do the job, and we're going to give them a job as a teacher, to fill the seats. The union only cares about getting enough people in there to pack them in to collect more dues. It's incredible. All People says mice of men. Lenny wanted to live off the fat of the land. Yeah, but I just remember that quote more specifically from the Three Stooges when they're in the army and they're laying down. Yep, we're in the army now. Nothing to do but sleep and eat and sleep and live off the fat of the land. And then the drill sergeant comes and kicks him. Get up! Oh my God. And All People says they graduate high school and then sue the college because they arrive and leave unable to read. Well, I would call that a frivolous lawsuit, though, because you could at any time pick up a book and teach yourself. You could read basic enough. And yeah, we read that article from a girl who was suing her high school a few weeks ago. That's right. But you can, if you got a rudimentary basic, you can figure it out. You can go and get some tutorials. You can watch some YouTube videos and learn to read if you really want to. You can blame the school if you want. I didn't learn to read at school. I learned on my own at the local public library when I was a kid because I liked it. That's the difference. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. Who have I got? Granny Smith, get up on that chair. Go on, sweetie. There you go. You see her back there? There's Granny Smith. We are at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me now also on Rumble, Coffee Talk 2, the number 2. But of course, I can't see your comments on Rumble, unfortunately. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Special thanks to RL30 and to Rodney, who made donations to the channel today. Goes a long way towards helping us out with our shelter cats. We very much appreciate it. Granny, you appreciate it, don't you? Granny's not paying attention to me. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will catch you again tomorrow.